Back in her room, Onyeka had another dream. This time, 3 girls stood in front of her, all with trays on their heads. But only one she knew, Neloaku. The other 2 were silent, their faces hidden in shadows. They held out their hands. Then one whispered, "Help us." Onyeka woke up screaming. 𝐸𝐵𝐺 rushed in from next door. "Are you okay?" Onyeka looked at her, face pale. "There are more. 2 more girls. They want justice too." 𝐸𝐵𝐺 sat beside her. "Then we must find them." "But where do we start?" Onyeka asked. There was only one answer. 𝐷𝐷𝐿. They had to find him and make him face what he had done. Because Neloaku had only opened the door. And now, the flood was coming. Nkpor village had changed. After Neloaku's spirit found peace, the wind stopped blowing at night, and the haunted house near the mango tree stood still for the first time in weeks. But peace didn't last. Strange things began to happen again, this time not in the house, but all around the village. A newborn baby refused to open her eyes for 3 days. A palm wine tapper slipped and broke both legs on dry ground. A family's yam barn caught fire without any cause. The villagers began to whisper, "It is not over. Maybe more spirits they vex." Onyeka heard the whispers too. But she already knew. There were more girls. 2 more. She saw them in her dream. Standing behind Neloaku. Silent. Shadows covering their faces. They were waiting. And the man they were waiting for was 𝐷𝐿. The killer. The one Papa Emma paid to do the evil. That evening, Onyeka and 𝐸𝐵𝐺 returned to Dibia Ofo's hut, this time with 𝐶𝐵𝐺 and 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞, 2 other former tenants from the haunted house who had also seen strange dreams. "We need to find 𝐷𝐿," Onyeka told the old seer. Dibia Ofo stared into the smoke rising from his pot. 𝐷𝐿 left Nkpor after the last sacrifice, he said. He knew the spirits would follow him. So he hid. Where? 𝐸𝐵𝐺 asked. Where would someone like him go? To a place where the cries of the dead are drowned by the noise of money and sin, Dibia Ofo said. 𝐶𝐵𝐺 frowned. That sounds like Onyeka. Exactly, the seer nodded. That is where 𝐷𝐿 ran to. But even there, he cannot hide from justice forever. Onyeka clenched her fist. How do we find him in a big city like Onyeka? The seer poured a dark liquid into a white calabash. The smoke from the pot turned green. The liquid in the calabash bubbled, and slowly, an image appeared. A small shop. A wooden bench. And a man sitting on it, fat, with a big round face and small eyes. He wore a red cap and gold chain. That is 𝐷𝐿 now, the seer said. He runs a gambling house in the corner of Upper Onyeka. He uses charms to confuse people and steal their money. But how do we get him to come back to Nkpor? 𝐸𝐵𝐺 asked. He will never come by himself, Dibia Ofo said. But if you go to him with the right words, he will follow. What words? Onyeka asked. Tell him this, the ground is bleeding, and the wind is calling your name. The seer gave Onyeka a small cowrie shell. Hold this in your hand when you speak to him. His heart will grow weak, and his spirit will begin to remember. The next day, Onyeka, 𝐸𝐵𝐺, and 𝐶𝐵𝐺 took a bus to Onitsha. The city was loud and crowded, full of people rushing, shouting, selling, and buying. They walked past shops, buses, beggars, and preachers until they reached the area shown in the calabash vision. There it was. A wooden building painted blue, with a sign above it, 𝐷𝐿 Game House. They stepped inside carefully. Men sat around, placing bets and shouting. At the back sat a large man with a gold chain and a crooked smile. 𝐷𝐿, Onyeka whispered. The man looked up. His eyes were sharp, but there was something behind them, tiredness, maybe guilt. Yes, he said. Onyeka stepped forward. She could feel the cowrie shell grow warm in her hand. She swallowed, then spoke the words slowly. The ground is bleeding, and the wind is calling your name. Odiu froze. His smile disappeared. He looked at Onyeka as if he had seen a ghost. Who sent you? Neloaku, Onyeka replied. And the others? You remember them, don't you? Odiu's hand began to shake. No. I did what I had to. It was the only way. The gods needed blood. They were children. 𝐸𝐵𝐺 snapped. Innocent children. I didn't choose them. Odiu shouted, standing up. Papa Emma brought the names. I only did the sacrifice. And now, they want your soul, Onyeka said calmly. But they will forgive, if you return to where you buried them and speak the truth. Odiu sat down slowly. Sweat ran down his face. I haven't slept for years, he whispered. I see their eyes every night. I hear their voices, calling me, then come back, Onyeka said. Let it end. Odiu looked at her, then nodded. That evening, they returned to Nkpor with Odiu sitting quietly beside them on the bus. He said nothing the whole way. He just clutched his bag and stared out the window. As they entered the village, people began to whisper. That's Odiu, he's back. Why he come now? When they arrived at the house near the mango tree, the sky had grown dark. The wind picked up. The leaves rustled. And the air smelled like rain and earth. Odiu stepped into the house. He walked slowly, each step heavier than the last. He reached the center of the house and stood still. I remember, he said softly. It was here. This is where I did it. He dropped to his knees. I killed them. I'm sorry. I was greedy. I was wicked. I buried them here. All three. Forgive me. Onyeka dropped the cowrie onto the floor. It cracked. And suddenly, the ground shook. A soft glow filled the room. And then they appeared. 3 girls. One was Neloaku. The other 2 finally showed their faces. They looked sad, but calm. Neloaku stepped forward, touched Odiu's head gently, and said in a soft voice, we forgive, but the earth will not forget. And with that, they faded into the wind. The ground stopped shaking. The glow faded. The room grew still. Everyone in the house stood frozen, Onyeka, 𝐸𝐵𝐺, 𝐶𝐵, and Odiu. None of them spoke for a long time. Outside, the sky had cleared. The stars were out, twinkling over Nkpor village like tiny eyes watching in silence. She said they forgive, 𝐸𝐵𝐺 whispered, her hands still trembling. Yes, Onyeka replied. But she also said the earth will not forget. Odiu remained on the ground, head bowed. He looked older now. Weaker. As if confessing had removed the strength from his body. I killed them, he said again, but this time his voice was broken, almost like a cry. 3 girls. They screamed. I didn't stop. I didn't stop. 𝐶𝐵 stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. You cannot change what you did. But you can make sure no one ever does it again. Odiu slowly looked up. How? You tell your story, Onyeka said firmly. To everyone. The whole village. No more hiding. The next day, a crowd gathered at Nkpor's village square. The news had spread like wildfire, Odiu is back. He killed the banana girl and 2 others. He's ready to speak. Children sat on their mothers' laps. Elders leaned on their walking sticks. Traders left their stalls early. Even the village pastor came, standing at the edge of the gathering, quiet but watchful. Papa Emma stood alone under the mango tree. His hands folded, his eyes sunken. He didn't speak a word. He didn't need to. Everyone knew he had been part of it. Then Odiu walked to the center. He wore a plain white wrapper. No chains. No red cap. Just a man stripped of pride. He cleared his throat and began to speak. In the days when I had nothing, he said, I met a man who promised me riches. He said all I needed was to give the earth a gift. A sacrifice. Blood. Gasps filled the crowd. He continued, the man was a juju priest from far away. He told me the land in Nkpor would bring money if only innocent blood touched it. So I agreed. A murmur rose among the villagers. I needed a name. I needed someone people wouldn't look for too quickly. That's when Papa Emma came to me. He said he had someone in mind. All eyes turned to Papa Emma. He didn't move. The first girl was called Neloaku, Odiu said, his voice shaking. She sold bananas. She smiled at me before I dragged her into the unfinished house. She begged me to let her go. A few women in the crowd began to cry. I buried her under the floor. And the house was built on top. Then Odiu pointed to the house near the mango tree. 2 others followed. Each time, I told myself it was the last. But greed is a terrible thing. It makes you blind. Until the spirits come for you. He paused, breathing heavily. Then he faced the crowd fully. I am sorry. I do not deserve peace. I do not ask for it. But if any of you ever think of building your wealth with blood, remember this, the earth never forgets. He bowed his head and stepped back. The square was silent. For a moment, no one moved. Then Papa Nedi, the village elder, stepped forward. We must act, he said. We cannot change the past, but we must protect our future. He turned to Papa Emma. You built that house with dirty hands. Papa Emma nodded, tears running down his cheeks. I know. I am ready. And for the first time in Nkpor's history, the village elders decided something bold, the haunted house would be destroyed. The land would be blessed. And a shrine would be built to remember the children. Over the next few days, people came together. Young men brought shovels and hammers. Women sang songs of sorrow and hope. Children brought flowers. Even the church and the shrine walked side by side. They broke down the walls. They dug into the ground. They found bones. Small bones. Wrapped in faded cloth. The people wept. Ebra held Onyeka's hand tightly. This is what justice looks like. Onyeka nodded. This is what peace sounds like. Dibia Ofo came and poured cleansing herbs into the soil. He chanted prayers in an old tongue. Then he placed 3 small stones in the center of the ground. 1 for each girl. The villagers stood in a wide circle, heads bowed. A new silence came over the land. Not the heavy, haunted silence from before. But a peaceful one. As if the earth had finally exhaled. That night, Onyeka slept deeply. No dreams. No voices. Just peace. But in the early hours of the morning, as the first rooster crowed, she heard something gentle on the wind. A soft voice. Faint. Happy. Thank you. She opened her eyes slowly and smiled. Nkpor village was quiet again. Not the kind of quiet that brings fear, the heavy, choking silence of before, but the kind that carried peace. The kind of quiet where the wind danced softly through trees and goats bleated in the distance. People smiled again. Children played in the streets without their mothers calling them back at sundown. It was like the village had taken a deep breath and finally let it go. Onyeka stood near the old mango tree, now bare from the season but still tall and proud. She looked at the empty space where the haunted house once stood. Grass had already started to grow there. The land was healing. In the center, the small shrine built to remember the 3 girls stood quietly, made of clay and painted white. Around it were 3 little stones, each one carefully marked, Neloaku, Chidinma, 𝐬𝐮𝐫𝐞𝐿. No one knew much about Chidinma and 𝐬𝐮𝐫𝐞. They were young. Poor. Forgotten. But now, they were remembered. People came every morning to leave flowers. Some left sweets. One small boy left a banana. Onyeka wiped her eyes as she saw it. They will never be forgotten. 𝐼𝐵𝐺 walked up beside her. Everyone is saying your name all over Nkpor. Some people are even calling you, the girl who spoke for the dead. Onyeka smiled gently. I didn't do it alone. You were there. So was 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭. Dibia Ofo. Even the spirits helped. 𝐼𝐵𝐺 nodded. Yes. But you were the one who didn't run. Who didn't close your eyes. Onyeka thought about it. Maybe because someone had to listen.
Hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Also turn on your notification to get more enchanted tales like this one. Goodbye.